Hey, so yesterday I had this funny ass experience that really pissed me off. So I was interviewing I wasn't even interviewing because I was hired. First time I talked to somebody on the phone, talked about the stuff, and I'm thinking this is a on-call job, like 8 hours a day, like 6 to 8 hours a day. Because based on where I live and where this place is, it's like, why the hell would I show up for 3 hours a day? And finding out the stuff I found out after the third conversation with somebody. Because the first conversation, I talked to somebody and they were like, oh, all this, you can work here, it's on call and everything. Because I like to have on call work. You never know what could happen. And I'm like, okay, this sounds great. It's what I do. I do it at a bunch of other places. But in like one city, it's where I've had issues with where I'm like, why are they setting people up and you can't find what you're looking for because nobody wants to work here because everybody thinks that it's on call and they can show up when they want and it's like a 6 to 8 hour shift, and then you find out it's a 3 hour shift when you get there, and but this one was even worse because it was like at least they paid you direct. Here they're like, okay, you're covering for this person, they have to pay you from their pocket. So it's like you could be waiting for this person to pay you and they never pay you. And it's like you worked and you're just shit out of luck. And I'm like, why the hell would I work here? I could be showing up for work covering for these people and never get paid. And then it's like, why are they paying me out of their pocket? I've never heard of anything like this. And then I didn't find this out to the third conversation and the second time I showed up because I was supposed to do like my onboarding. And then they're like, oh, did you bring the stuff you were supposed to bring? It was like, I didn't know. And normally, like places, they'll let you do your onboarding and everything. And it's like, if you forget your social security card or something, they normally tell you to bring it. Or if you forget it, it's like you can show it on your first day. But this place, they never told me to bring anything. They're just like, oh, we're going to meet and stuff because it's onboarding, but I didn't think anything about it. So I didn't bring my social or passport. I just have my ID because it's always on me. And then they're like, oh, we can't do anything else. Oh, we're done for the day. And it's like, okay, what? And then they're like, oh, did you forget to bring it from what I told you? And it's like, you didn't tell me anything. You're just like, let's have a meeting and do an onboarding. And you didn't say bring anything. And when I get there, they're like, oh. And then they mention about where I live and how far I live away. And I'm not thinking too much of it because where I live, a lot of people go there and commute for work. And then that's when they mention, oh, a 3 hour shift and taking over for somebody and they pay you from their pocket. And I'm like, when would I see this person if I'm taking over for them and they're paying me from their pocket? And if they don't pay me today, which most likely they won't because they won't be here, and the next time I come back, it's like, how am I getting paid? It's like, okay, that sounds like a trick. And then found out that there's a whole nother shift afternoon where other people have to work there because it's like basically people volunteer in the morning, and if you cover for the people that volunteer, they have to pay you like $75. And it's like, from my understanding, my rate was much higher than that. And I'm showing up because it was like, I never heard about this. If I cover for a volunteer, they pay me $75. Because I was thinking I was making at least 300 and something a day. And then I hear this, and then I'm like, wait, what? And it's like, after this is my third conversation. And then it was like, I was already having like red flags because I don't like to bother with people that talk about boundaries. And especially when it's like, they're woke and they have like the piercings and stuff and all that. And like basically, the people that are going to protest and have like all those issues and stuff that are just woke and annoying because it's like, I see myself woke to some extent, but it's like I'm not piercing my face and all this stuff and piercing up my body, getting all these tattoos and stuff and body modifications and all that crazy stuff. Yeah, and it's like, oh, and then they wear like the overalls and the like patch clothing and all that stuff. It's like where you're trying to give like hippie vibes, but it's like real hippies are cool, and it's like you're just annoying and you're like my boundaries, my pronouns and all this stuff. And it's like nothing against people with pronouns. I know people that are really cool with pronouns, but it's like when you mix the pronouns with the boundaries, the piercings and all that stuff, you're just getting a can of you're fucking annoying. And not even people with piercings or annoying, because I know a lot of people with piercings and pronouns that are cool, but it's like when you but they don't wear like the patchwork and trying to be hippie and stuff. And it's like, when you're trying too hard and then you're like, oh, my feelings. And it's like, damn, you're annoying. I can't deal with this. And it's like, good thing I got out of there, because like some of the stuff, it was like, I identify as a Christian and I identify as a person with common sense. And I'm all about not making life choices that are like that dramatic where it can affect you for the rest of your life and stuff. And it's like, yeah, it didn't sit right with me. And then after all that happened, I decided to look online and read reviews about the place. And basically, everybody gave like 5-star reviews. And then, like, two or three people, they're like, yeah, this is kind of like a cult hipster wannabe thing. But it's like, it's like people from across the country in different places, they move to a certain place and then they're like basically gentrifiers, but they're like, oh, we're all for community and stuff. And then, like, the funny thing is, they're all about including indigenous black people, and I'm not really sure what that means, and uh minorities and stuff. But the funny thing was, there was only one minority that worked in this place, and that was the person that interviewed me, that liked me and that was nice to me. And then another person read my interview, because it's like basically all the quotas they were looking for, the wokeness and everything, my resume had all that. But then when I meet the third person, it's like, oh, yeah, you're pretending to be woke and inclusive and all this stuff, but then you're not that way to me, and you're not very friendly to me, and you're like, oh, your boundaries and all this stuff. And then it's like, oh, next thing I know, you're going to say, oh, something happened. And it's like, yeah, I'm not even stepping into that. Because, yeah. And then it was like weird, because I'm not going to say what the job was or where it was. And you would think that it would be San Francisco with all the wokeness. But the funny thing is, the wokeness in San Francisco, there's still wokeness in San Francisco. They're trying to like keep up, but San Francisco, their wokeness is fading. They're Because there are other cities like that are around San Francisco where they were liberal cities, and they're trying to step up to the wokeness. And then there are other cities and they're just like, I don't give a fuck about the wokeness. And then you go off to the suburbs, it's like, okay, we'll call you whatever you want, we'll acknowledge you, but we're not really doing that, because people move to the suburbs to escape that stuff. So it's like, we're not really acknowledging it. And pretty much everybody comes off as conservative and everything. And no one's like overly pierced, no one's overly tattooed. You might see a few people with tattoos, but nothing like over crazy wokeness, more like just young, artsy, and just want to have fun. But no one's like pushing off the agenda and stuff in like the suburbs as much. But then when you go to like areas where they were known to have hippies and stuff, that's where, and it's like the nicer area, and they're trying to push that off. But then it's like the older people that are there, and it's like, because it's funny, because like the older white people that are there, they're like, oh no, we're not really into this, but we're cool, we're counterculture. It's just like a young person thing, but it's like you don't really acknowledge it. It's just like, okay, those are just weird young people. And then it's like the young people that are there aren't even from those places, but they're doing all this to try and change places. Because I was in Vallejo one day and I'm like, okay, Vallejo is supposed to be like the hood and everything. And then I'm walking around and I'm seeing, oh, and then I heard like Vallejo turned into like this woke place where they're trying to make it woke, but then people are like pushing back on the wokeness. And it's like, huh, it's interesting because like some of this stuff, it's like trying to be pushed off. Because like, I get it when I go to, like, when I hear about people talking about this is trying to be pushed off on people, especially minorities and stuff, and in different places, and like places that were considered like country places, and then you start seeing like, oh, they're trying to put like, who's trying to push this woke stuff off, because it's like 10, 20 years ago this stuff wouldn't be okay, and then it's like the majority of people, they're like, oh, we're not into this woke stuff, we moved away from the city to get away from this woke stuff. But then like the people that couldn't afford the woke stuff, they moved out to like the suburbs and the hoods and different places, and they're pushing this stuff off, and they're putting flags out and having all this stuff, and it's like, wait, what? Because it's like, I wouldn't have expected this stuff here. And then it's like, okay, this stuff's taking over. And then it's like the older people are like, okay, this is weird, we don't understand this. It's like, who's pushing this stuff? And it's just like crazy, because I've been to a couple of places where I've seen it, but surprisingly, when I go to San Mateo, I don't see it in San Mateo. I never hear about, and it's San Mateo's like right next to San Francisco, but I never get the vibe, and I never see the flags around San Mateo and like certain like I go all around San Mateo, and I never see the flags up around San Mateo like where it's like really pushed. And it's like I see it in Oakland, but in like certain parts, but it's like certain parts you see in Oakland, but surprisingly, like in San Francisco, some people are like, yeah, no. And in other parts of San Francisco, people are like, yeah, we're into that. But it's like, and then there's two sides of San Francisco. It's like you go to the ritzy side of San Francisco, and like they're not like really into that. And then you go to like other areas, like poorer areas in San Francisco, and they're not really into that. And it's like, who's really into this, that's pushing this agenda? Which is weird, because like some schools push the agenda in San Francisco and other schools don't, but I don't see it being pushed at all really in San Mateo. And then in the East Bay, there are pockets of the East Bay, not even like the East Bay in general, there are pockets of like Oakland where it's pushed, and it's like, those pockets, and then there's the other pockets where if you start trying to push that stuff, it's no. And then the funny thing is, it's like in the hipster areas where they're trying to push that off, and it's like, I don't really care, because it's like, because it's funny, because like I know people that would be considered hipsters, and they're a part of like the LGBTQ, and they're like, yeah, they're not into that. And it's like, wait, what? You're a part of the LGBTQ and you appear to be a hipster, but it's like, yeah, I'm not into like the flags and all this other stuff. And it's like, they're like, that's weird. And it's like, why do I know so many it's not like I know like crazy amounts of LGBT people, but I know a lot of LGBT people, and they're like, they're not into that, like, because they think it's weird, which I think is funny. Yeah, because it's like weird, because like you go to some places and they're like known as like country places, ghettos, and different places. And I want to say it's like the gentrification where they're trying to like push that, because I know as a kid in San Francisco, it was like, yeah, you knew about it, but it wasn't pushed on you so much. And then it's just like weird because San Mateo is so close. It's like right there. And I do not see it pushed at all in San Mateo. And I go all over and I do not see it pushed. Or like when I go to Alameda, I only see it pushed in like certain parts of Berkeley, like hipsters, and in Oakland with like hipsters. Yeah, and the same thing in like Vallejo with the hipsters, because it's like people that couldn't afford San Francisco that moved out to these other areas, and they formed a community, and they're doing this stuff, and it's like, okay, you couldn't afford that because you moved from across the country somewhere, and you couldn't afford San Francisco, and trying to push that in San Francisco. And it's like the people in San Francisco aren't that into it. It's like, okay, they're accepting, or they just ignore it, and you try and push it. and then you go out to like suburbs, but then some suburbs just like shut it down, or they're like, okay, whatever. But they're not like having parades because it's like when I found out, like, I think like I don't know if Vallejo has a parade or stuff, but I heard about like other suburbs around the Bay Area. They have like pride parades and stuff. And then like some will hang up flags and like others are like, no. Yeah. And I've seen that and it's like, huh, this is interesting. And then a lot of these people you talk to, they're not even from California and they're pushing this stuff. It's like, why didn't you try and push this stuff where you were? But people come to California and they try San Francisco, but then can't afford San Francisco. And then, because it's like you try and gentrify San Francisco, but you can't afford it. And then you're like, you want culture, diversity, and equity. But then you try and take away the culture, the diversity, and the equity from wherever you go. And it's like, yeah, because like they say that in the mission, but it's like the mission had cultural diversity and everything. And then the gentrification came, and then it started kicking people out and all this other stuff. And it's like the people that say they want cultural diversity, equity, and all that stuff, they're normally the ones that are trying to get rid of it. And they're the ones that want nothing to do with it, but they say it to make it seem like they want something to do with it, but they really want nothing to do with it. They just don't want to seem racist when they move into neighborhoods and people get kicked out and the prices go up and all that stuff. That's what it seems like to me. It's just like, oh, saying diversity, equity, and inclusion a lot of the time is just code word for racist when it's like you're trying to be inclusive, but it just seems like racism to me. So, yeah, I try and stay away from diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I try to stay away from when people talk about their boundaries because generally there's some racism or something going on there, it seems to me. Because people that always talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, I never see them around people that are diverse. It's normally a group of people that identify as white and hipsters that are like, yeah, because it's like I'd rather go hang out with the country person that's like, I don't know what the hell that is, or the hood person that's like, I don't know what the hell that is, or yeah, they stay away from that or they don't talk about that stuff. And it's like that's where you see unity and diversity and equity and inclusion. Yeah, that's what I prefer. I rather see it than hear it. Because so many places that say organizations and stuff, they're like diversity, equity, and inclusion. And where's that diversity, equity, and inclusion? Nowhere, because everybody's white. If you like, watch and subscribe. Bye.